Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and I would like to welcome Jim Eat from Eat Foundation. Welcome, Jim, to the studio.
Thank you, Sasha. It's great to be here.
Oh, okay. Jim, so this year, stock market is doing something very different from last couple of years. It's trying to get up, but there is resistance, and I can't find anything else to um, prevent a market advance rather than Trump's tariffs and some other actions. Hello, Milan. Welcome to the studio. Great to have you.
Morning. Thank you for inviting me.
So, what do you think? Is it this very shaky situation? Because you see, these tariffs they can backfire just as well. And, for example, we see Milan. You agree that there is a already ongoing campaign for second, if not third week in Canada,
Trump,
not
Trump,
buy
Trump is,
anything American. There is people in supermarkets are there searching where some kind of oranges. Are they from California? No, we are not going to buy that. You have anything, some Israeli stuff, uh, oranges? Yeah, we have some. They're more expensive than US, but people are buying the Israeli oranges now. I don't know how it affects Tesla sales so far. I don't think that it will be great year for Tesla around the world. Jim, what do you think about it?
Well, I think the market has historically disliked uncertainty. And I think the Trump administration has introduced uncertainty into the financial markets, into the world in general, into global political, economic environments throughout the world. And I think this is something that if you look at it from what I usually look at when I evaluate stocks and what to buy, I look at the revenue stream. Do they have debt? If they don't have debt, do they have an adequate revenue stream? And what are their prospects for the future revenue stream? Well, these kinds of things go out the window when you start slapping tariffs on countries and for no valid reason. Tariffs have a strategic use. If someone is undercutting the market value to introduce products at a lower cost than your country can produce, simply to get market share, and to drive out competition, then tariffs can be effective. But you have to be used mindfully and specifically and strategically. And to slap them on countries mindlessly or because you're out of petulance or for any other reason than a rational reason, then they backfire. What they end up doing is hurting the American consumer. It drives up prices. It costs more for the American consumer to buy the same products.
Jim,
And
there's also a
go ahead.
psychological issue. No, I'm just would like to add something to what you said. There is a psychological issue as well. Even if he's not going ahead with proposed tariffs, new tariffs, but people already in their mind they're already calculated the implications of possible tariffs, and therefore that affects prices of stock and so on. And everybody
Absolutely.
is suggesting that Trump is very mindful of the stock market and he always listens to whatever stock market tells him to. I don't know if this time he's not listening that much. What do you think?
Well, I do think that the combination of the bromance between Elon Musk and Trump, which I don't think is going to last very long, but right now they both think they're the smartest guys in the room. And what they've come up with, the market will adjust. The market will do whatever Elon Musk thinks it will do or should do. And they have egos. I don't know how both of them fit in the same room because their egos are enormous. And so they believe that they will make countries bow to their will and the markets will be better off in the long run. That's their core belief that what they're doing is right and will pay off in the long run. And all the companies right now are saying pretty much what the American people are saying in general in the Trump administration. Hey, hands off. I'm done fighting. Let's wait and see what happens. And whatever, maybe they're right. Give them a chance. Maybe they're right. Maybe all these countries will do whatever Trump tells them to do, and everything will all live happily ever after.
Milan, what about you? Are you buying any American stuff these days?
Well, I have something interesting to say. First of all, Trump is pro-business, and so that will benefit the market and has done for a
He
while. But
is pro his business, and
well,
Elon
that's
Musk's
that's true. Yeah,
business does not apply to you or me or
yeah,
Jim.
yeah. Trump is pro-Trump. Yeah, we don't recommend that people buy individual stocks, but people who have in the past owned Canadian banks have done very well indeed. So Toronto Dominion Bank, for example, just agreed to pay the largest fine in history, $3 billion, for not monitoring its anti-money laundering operations. Each bank has anti-money laundering operations. Money laundering is taking illegitimately obtained money and making it look legitimate. And each bank has anti-money laundering operations. And the Securities and Exchange Commission fined TD Bank, which has 1,000 branches in the United States. I think maybe more than Canada, certainly more than any other Canadian bank, but it was
And that
fined.
trade is Toronto Dominion Bank's discount
Yeah.
broker.
So I've been with TD Bank for over 60 years, 65 years, because they treat me right. And so their anti-money laundering aspect was seen to be deficient, and they were fined $3 billion. Nevertheless, TD Bank remains a good investment. Morningstar gives it 4 stars out of possible 5. And so it will remain a good investment. So people who buy individual stocks, people who have bought Canadian banks in the past, all of them have done well. And so they will continue to do well. And so don't put off TD Bank because of the largest fine in history, $3 billion.
No, it is not. By far, it's not the largest fine for the
Oh,
bank.
yes, it is. It is.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
Look at
Well,
the
yeah.
Deutsche Bank, what they paid 20 years ago for facilitating Trump's investments and bringing the Russian money to Trump's operations. They were fined $34 billion for that.
Really?
It's a bit larger than $3 billion Toronto Dominion Trust.
Well, I just went to Chat GPT, which I use a lot, and I asked whether that was the largest fine. Oh, you know what? Maybe it was the largest fine in the United States.
Deutsche Bank
Yeah.
was fined in United States. But you know what? I can understand. You're using ChatGPT, which didn't exist when Deutsche Bank was fined $34 billion.
It has access to the
That's
files.
why.
But in any case, I want to get back to ChatGPT. That there's another thing that we haven't talked about much. Is many people who aren't comfortable investing themselves use mutual funds to invest. And one of the things that we need to make people aware of, I think, is that many of these funds have fees. I used to call them an inside load. And so their returns to their parent investors may be quite wonderful to look at, but your return might be much lower because of these fees. And so it's another way. You're talking about getting fined. There doesn't appear to be any fine for people doing this. They're taking in all this income and they're telling you we got a return of 15%, but they're actually only paying out 3% because of all these fees.
Let me interrupt you here, James, to strengthen what you have said. Over any 30-year period, the stock market has gone up about 1,000%. During any 30-year period, mutual fund investors have made under 250%. Although the difference between 1,000% and 250%. So where's the difference going? Well, it's going into the pockets of Wall Street. But how are they doing it? Well, they're doing it with hidden fees. Transaction costs are so low today, you can ignore them. You pay under $10 for $1,000 transaction or $1 million transaction. You can completely ignore.
It just sounds a lot like money laundering to me.
I don't know. You were talking about what Wall Street wants us to do, and doing so we will earn more.
Give them their money, your money.
Well, my brokerage company is Dime Trading, Quest Trade, based in Toronto. They
Yeah.
canceled any transaction fee. There is no longer any fees. You can buy a couple of $1 million worth of stock, zero commissions.
No,
Are they going to make it up in volume?
No, there is no volume. You can open an account with $20 and buy and sell with $20, $200, $5,000. Doesn't matter. There is zero commission.
Sasha, what you're saying here, Sasha, applies to the individual investor. And what James is talking about is mutual funds. And when mutual funds is completely different, they have hidden fees.
I
and
don't
lists.
know among my friends, associates, I don't know a single person who owns any mutual fund.
Well,
Yeah.
you're talking to a
ETFs.
certain population because there is an enormous amount of money invested in mutual funds, and
Right now, I think ETFs has more money coming in.
that may be true now. ETF is a relatively modern financial vehicle, and mutual funds have long existed prior to them, and I think ETFs are definitely a better way to go. But you know, it's just something that I think I just felt like it was important to state some of the ways that we were talking about a company getting fined for money laundering protections to protect against money laundering, when right in front of our noses the money is being shifted from your pocket to Wall Street's pockets without your awareness, and by these hidden fees.
Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So you, Sasha, are hanging around with people like yourself who are sharp investors, who are above average. The average investor trails the market, underperforms the market. The average investor loses money in the market. And so that's not the kind of people you hang out with.
Well,
So,
Milan, I would say what I like to be known is by my enemies rather than my friends.
that is true. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
good.
The individual investors investing for themselves can ignore transaction costs because they're so low.
I know, it's amazing to
There
be.
are no cost. No, they're not low cost. There is zero cost.
Yeah.
How about that? Wall
I mean, it's
Street
been approaching zero.
trade and do this or that. My friend, zero transaction cost, period. The end of story.
Tell us how this company makes money. If I were
They're holding money.
I really don't care. Maybe they play Las Vegas. Maybe they invest in mortgages. I really don't know, and I don't care. All I care is that from now on, starting this Monday, they make a big announcement: no more commissions. There is only on options trading. There is a 99 cents per contract because it's paid by the exchange, so they cannot avoid this. They don't want to lose money on option trading. So the 99 cents per contract, that's all what you're paying.
Money makes money, but I don't want to get into that right now. But you mentioned Chat GPT, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the artificial intelligence that goes behind it, and the scare that companies like NVIDIA and Marvell, MRVL, the ticker tape, got last week. I wasn't able to talk to you guys about it when it happened, but China that released this AI that was supposed to be incredibly cheap and incredibly effective. And I wanted to talk about this because it hit the AI stocks and the semiconductor stocks that I invest in heavily. It hit them pretty hard. But I have no long-term
big time.
I have no long-term worries about that because for one, when China announces something was cheap, they're just not telling you what it really costs. How much of the research did they put into the price category? Probably none. They probably didn't account for any research and development. They told it was very cheap. Are there really all the semiconductors accounted for? Probably not. When it comes to China telling you, the cost of something, I take it all with a huge grain of salt.
Absolutely. So, the Economist a few years ago stated that you cannot trust Chinese numbers.
Yeah, and that's pretty much a given now. So don't trust the numbers. And what is it actually doing? It's like, remember when Bing was released and Google was everybody's, and so all of a sudden, they were trying to say, okay, use Bing instead of Google. Well, this is like going against Chat GPT, and they're saying, well, okay, it's faster and cheaper than Chat GPT. That's got nothing to do with what NVIDIA does. That's got nothing to do with what Marvell does. And all of these companies that are trying to build data centers to support AI and all that kind of stuff, this release, this product that they released, has no impact on that. It has no impact on the future revenues. So I just wanted to make that clear. There's so much panic that goes on in the market sometimes, and it's really important to be able to recognize the reality from the panic and the buzz.
Jim, I think what these days is going on a lot. The market is using almost any excuse. Like take today, for example, the reading was 5.3 instead of 5.1. The market tanks like 200 points in a matter of a second.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of getting to the same level, but it started. But again, almost any excuse. Oh, Chinese, they have a huge competitor.
It's not all green like it is usually on Wednesdays.
Absolutely. So there is any excuse. I think it's like somebody said that it's attempt to separate investors from their money. I think that's exactly what
Absolutely. Panicking is never advisable. Always keep your head about you when you're investing. But also, there's a very real danger with what Trump is doing to the economy. And as you say, it has been priced in. Tariffs have already been priced into some stocks that are going to be affected. But, tariffs on steel and aluminum for no apparent reason will just make the cost of these materials more expensive for the American consumer. And there's no upside. There's no trade war that he's going to win.
Economists universally agree that tariffs are not good for anybody.
Yeah,
agree.
Only in a very small circumstances and very strategic circumstances should they be used at all. And this heavy-handedness is just it's clownish when you really.
Trump is going to make every effort possible to remain in power forever, and not just 8 years. Yeah.
I heard that. Yesterday I was watching the press conference of Trump and Elon Musk. He was right standing next to him with his son on his shoulders. And there was like supposedly a joint press conference, but Musk did all the talking. See, because what Musk is really doing, Trump cannot even remotely understand even a small part of what Musk is doing. So therefore, he's not even asking Musk, explain me this or that. He just blindly...
He doesn't even care. He doesn't want to know.
Not only that, it's at least Trump, in theory, is responsible to Senate, to Congress, to judges, maybe Supreme Court. Supposedly, I'm not so sure about that.
That's what the Constitution says.
Now, Musk is responsible only to Trump. He's not responsible to anybody.
He's unelected. Yeah.
He's unelected. He is responsible only to Donald Trump.
So, Sasha, he's proven one thing, though. America is the greatest country that money can buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Musk has contributed more to Trump than anybody else. Something like $250 million.
He brought us right into power. Yeah.
Trump likes
power. We haven't even seen his power yet, because what we know that he built in Tennessee enormous data center park, if you want to call it, which is humongous by any imagination. And I think what he's doing now with the U.S. government, he will, at the end of the day, he will transfer all that to his private organization, that humongous data centers park. So all U.S. government will be run by one man, which is Elon Musk. And nobody will be able even to get in, simply because the codes will be all put in the Musk-controlled entity. And I think if he's successful at that, believe it or not, all U.S. biggest companies like Microsoft, Google, and just Meta, it doesn't matter, all of them will be run by this humongous data center. And nobody will be able to resist. Do you think Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, will resist? Hey, Zuckerberg, come on here to Washington. We'll show you who you are, what we're going to do with you. Nobody will oppose Trump and Musk. So they will all have to agree. Or maybe they will not happy about it. But while both of them are in power, they will have to oblige. Otherwise, their company will be completely dissolved and
Targeted. They will be targeted
first targeted. Yeah,
and
absolutely
then destroyed.
targeted, and there will be they will come to Congress, and in Congress the Republican majority, they will ask them a lot of not very nice questions, and then they will be given 5 days to respond, and or else, and they will agree to anything, because it's better to have a little piece of something than a large piece of nothing.
You know, I've been driving a Tesla for I think 7 or 8 years, and so Jim Media has been driving a Tesla too. So when I go to a supercharger, a very station, I often talk to other Tesla drivers, and they all universally agree that it's the best car they ever owned.
Oh, I have
Many,
nothing to that. Yeah.
many of them say, "I will not buy another Tesla because of Musk."
That's what I say.
Yeah.
I'm not buying another one. Not as long as he's running it. Yeah. And I don't use Twitter anymore. When it was he ruined that. So what Sasha is saying used to be called a conspiracy theory, but it's actually very close to being a reality. He's not that far away. Musk has the ability to control the resources that other people need, and with the government support, he can have so much influence and power that people will have to do his bidding. And
Well,
when I say that, I mean it. Do his
that
bidding.
salute that he came up with, and he expected everybody to follow it, really has offended a huge number of people and alienated him from them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that also is waiting on a stock market. It's waiting on
Yes.
Americans who are now preparing for the worst case scenario. I was yesterday, now and I we did some shopping in a new store, beautiful store, shopping very close to where we are. And people, I noticed they were looking where the produce is coming from. When they were looking vegetables, fruits, they were inquiring, is this, oh, from yes, okay, show me something similar, but from Mexico, Colombia, just some
Sasha,
South.
the problem with that is, here, let me describe the problem with that. A pair of shoes, the leather probably comes somewhere from India. Then it goes somewhere else to get tanned. Then it goes somewhere else. By the time you get those shoes that you're wearing now, they have been made in 3 or 4 countries, maybe more.
It's a global economy.
Global economy. So many items are like that. So you cannot say that this comes from a certain country. It comes from a large number of countries. So isolating things that you don't want to buy American anymore in Canada, so they're looking for buy Canadian. You can't do that. Many manufactured products are manufactured in a large number of countries. Fruits and vegetables probably come from one source. That's true. But separating manufactured items is impossible, given the fact that
in the 70s and 80s, what we did was we took the American workers, the jobs that they were doing, and we offloaded them offshore to countries that did not have OSHA or workplace requirements for safety and things like that. So it was much cheaper to pay them than to pay the American worker. So then we rewarded the CEOs with the mega bonuses for doing this because it reduced the expenses and their profit, their bottom line was healthier. And so we gave them more stock money and more stock options, and their stocks rose, and everybody said, this is great. Except the American worker was hurt, devastated by this offshore putting jobs on other countries. And now we cannot manufacture at home what we used to manufacture. And it was highlighted in the COVID pandemic when all of a sudden we could not produce the protective equipment that the healthcare providers needed. We had to wait until it was shipped to us. And because of the global breakdown in shipping, we couldn't get them. So the first responders, the people that were having to take care of the people who were dying of this pandemic, didn't have the protective equipment that they needed because we didn't manufacture it at home. One of the things that Biden did, the Biden administration does, he passed the CHIPS Act. So we're making semiconductors here in America now. And it's a wise precaution. It's really a national defense issue when it comes down to it, because right now Chinese warships are circling Taiwan and a major producer of semiconductors. So is that guaranteed in the future? No, not at all. So we better be careful and make things at home again. Even if the CEOs don't get big, juicy bonuses.
People involved in manufacturing don't like what they're doing. They hate their jobs. They hate Mondays. They love
That's
Fridays.
what AI can help with. That is what AI can help with. The future can be rosy.
We're good at innovation, and we should get involved in innovation, which can use just as much revenue as manufacturing. And people involved in innovation, they look forward to Mondays. They work 24/7 because they like what they're doing. That's so different from manufacturing, where they
absolutely assembly line worker is soul killing, and that is not what we need to bring back. Assembly line workers. No, what we need to be back is better jobs designed by AI to do. Their productivity will increase because what they will be doing will be smart work rather than
the thing about AI, it requires a fairly high level of skill, which many individuals working in manufacturing don't have. So this is where we need to have a guaranteed annual income.
Let me say this about that. I don't think that what AI, you need to be skilled to do the AI, but the job analysis and design that AI does can be for the lower skilled worker. That's the point I'm trying to make. They can design jobs that can people that are having trouble getting employed right now can do.
Oh, good to hear.
These jobs will be highly productive and not as soul crushing as the old manufacturing jobs were.
Good to hear that. Yeah.
This is the promise of AI. However, it's a promise. We haven't seen whether or not it can be kept.
Well, Trump made a lot of promises lately. So if you want to bet on promises, go and read Trump's promises. Some of them are absolutely ridiculous, like one, he is going to move 2 million Palestinians to some countries. He doesn't name those countries, and no country has agreed even to, never mind Palestinians who would agree or disagree with that, but even any country, I haven't heard about any country that would agree to take even 500 Palestinians, never mind 2 million. That's now. Well, he promised 24 hours peace in Ukraine. Now it's been delayed for 100 days, but I don't think anything can happen in 100 days either. In the meantime, neither Russia nor Ukraine want to stop the war anyway, because Russians believe that they can fight this war for the next at least 7 to 8 years. And
a war of attrition from their point of view. Ukraine can't keep it up forever.
Absolutely. They have endless supply of people. The life in Russia doesn't cost anything. It also they're doing these meat storms, meat attacks. So 100 people, they are attacking Ukraine position. They're being killed in a matter of 20 to 30 minutes, 100 people done. So in 30 minutes, the next attack, same 100 people, not the same, but different people who are still alive. They will be alive for 20 to 30 minutes. They're all being eliminated.
What percentage of Russian soldiers in Ukraine want to be there? What percentage?
Zero.
What percentage of Ukrainians want them out of there?
100%.
So that's why the war in Vietnam, Richard Nixon said peace with honor. He should have said defeat with shame. And they lied about it, and most Americans who were there didn't want to be there. Every Vietnamese wanted, whether it's South or North, wanted them out of there. And you can't defeat guerrillas because they don't wear a uniform. They mix with the general population. And that's why the Turks, for example, who occupied all of the Balkans for 500 years, they couldn't overcome Montenegro because Montenegrins are all guerrillas in mountains, and the Turks couldn't get in there.
And we saw that in Afghanistan. And there was a book called The Ugly American because
Right.
a long, long time ago, and
Right,
it was written to say that we don't understand these countries. Then they don't want us there, and we think we're giving them a better life, and they'll love us for it. You know, we even said recently that like, they'll cheer us for throwing out Saddam Hussein. They'll line the streets cheering. You know, we don't have any concept that they don't want us. They don't want our lifestyle. They don't want us there. They hate it. So when Afghanistan fell, the Taliban was supposed to be the enemy, and we had armed and trained the Afghan army for years to be able to resist them. No, they just walked right in because it was better to know the enemy you know than the enemy you hate, which was the Americans. They wanted them out. And if the Taliban at least were Afghanistan, so we still don't understand this basic thing that was talked about in the late 1950s. We've been trying to educate the American population that the world doesn't think that we're giving them a gift when we come, because they think we're really there to take.
When Americans travel through Europe, they have a Canadian flag on their backpack. Yeah. The other way around.
Alex Yermolinsky is a grandmaster, and there was a tournament that was being held in Colombia. And Alex told me, he says, if you go, tell them you're Canadian.
Who is this you're talking about, James?
Alex Yermolinsky. He's a grandmaster that I was good friends with when he was out in San Francisco. And there was a tournament in Colombia we were thinking of going to, and he told me I could only go if I was a Canadian.
Speaking about Ukrainians, I saw yesterday a fantastic clip about the Ukrainian army operations and a lot of videos. And I was absolutely impressed with the ingenuity of Ukrainians. They're making state-of-the-art drones, and not just drones, but systems out of nothing, right on the front lines from some spare parts or something like this. And what they're doing, they have drones that they see everything what the drone can see, and they operate when to shoot and when to fly and when to go down or higher or so on. And there was one, actually, they shoot, as I say, probably a few seconds clip when Ukrainian operator, so he see a Russian position, and one soldier, he went out for a toilet. And so he goes and he's watching him and say, so I would like to have his face, and I would like to have two pictures, one his face before he entered the toilet, another one after he exits the toilet. And interesting how his face expression changes. Then he started to talk about, and should I kill him before the toilet or after the toilet? Okay, I'll let him enjoy the toilet. Okay, let him first go to the toilet, and once he will go out, and then I'll kill him. Oh, okay. The only thing, when I'm going to kill him, I want to start shooting him before I will kill, so I will see his face expression right before he's being killed, during him being killed, and after he's being killed, and how his face expression changes. And then he shows how he watches him, then shoots, then take all the pictures, and he said, oh, okay, he made my day. Who is next?
Well, this is the thing, that there is no honor in war anymore. We're being killed by remote weaponry. There's no human beings that are involved so much as you're pulling a trigger that's on a video, and something that's happening a long ways away is killing someone else, and so you're removed from the actual fight. And or you're, like you were describing earlier, you're the cannon fodder where they push you forward to be killed to make them run out of ammunition, so then they can conquer you. There's no honor in this. It's horror.
You're right about everything that you say there, James, except war is very profitable unless it's fought on your own land. Yeah, people who are manufacturing.
No, I'm sorry. It's not profitable for Russia. It's being fought in Ukraine, but it's not profitable for Russia. Russia lost its economy. It's lost its status. It's lost everything what a country can lose in a war. So Russia is being taken backward, not even 50 years, I think probably all 100 years, because Russia by 1913, right before First World War, was much better off financially from technologically than today's Russia. Today's Russia is a rumble, and there is no way out of it, even if the war will be stopped. That's why Russia doesn't want to stop the war. Because if they stop the war, the people will ask, dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, so we lost 1 million people, our economy is in shambles and it's going down big way, and what are you doing that for? What is the result? Okay, you were fighting for so many years.
Yeah, what war takes away is far greater than whatever gains you get. And Milan's right in that people do make profits from the ammunition and
but not Russia, Russia.
Yes,
somebody else.
But somebody is profiting from this.
Hold on, wait a sec. United States, they invested, according to Trump, $200 billion. I've heard other figures like $70 billion. But whatever is the number, has U.S. made money on that? Some U.S. Weapon producers, yes, they did. But not the United States as a country.
Dick Cheney made money. His companies made money in the Persian Gulf Wars.
But did they initiated the war? Even if they let's agree that they made some money. But did they cost the war in order to make their money? No. It just happened simply because there are no other producers. It used to be a time 50 years ago, there were 55 weapon producers in the United States. Today there are 5. Okay?
We're getting closer and closer to monopolies, and this is what Musk is after as well. The stifling of competition.
Musk himself is the biggest monopolist of them all. So Musk put himself in supreme position to fight anybody and everybody and eventually control all United States.
When you stifle competition, then everyone suffers except for the very, very few.
Let me talk briefly about the former Soviet Union, where the system really caused the problem, because the Soviet Union was so large, now it's fallen apart. Well, Russia is still the largest country in the world, and because they occupy so much of the globe, they got resources, all sorts of them. Now, during the time of the Soviet Union, 3% of the agricultural land was privately owned. That 3% of the agricultural land that was privately owned produced 25% of the agriculture output. That has to do with people working for themselves versus people working for others.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I do know that in the 90s, when it was really, really horrible time for Russia and Russians, but what's peculiar about Russia is that all people, even who are living in the cities, they all have a small private property where they can grow vegetables, fruits, or so on. They're very small, but they are producing, and that's what saved a lot of people from hunger in the 90s. Yeah, you're right, Neil. And so, unfortunately, with the leadership of Putin, Russia lost all its advantages. They had a spectacular opportunities in the early 10th of, I'm talking about 2010 to 2013, 2-3 years, 4 years, where the oil prices reached $150 a barrel at some point. 140 was quite often, and they really lost all those opportunities through, first of all, a lot of oligarchs. They grabbed most of the money from oil revenue. And then they started this Ukrainian campaign in 2014, annexation of Crimea, and war in Donbass region, and full-scale invasion in
Sasha,
2022. It's horrible.
Sasha, will Putin be followed by another Putin? For example, Stalin was followed by Khrushchev. There may have been another guy briefly between the two of them, but Khrushchev was followed by Malenkov, by so on and so forth. They were all exactly the same until Gorbachev came along. And
I
we
don't
see.
know. The Khrushchev was very different from Stalin, and actually Khrushchev was one uh, who presented to the Communist Party meeting on the open court in Moscow everything what Stalin did. Not every detail, but he first, for all time, he exposed Stalin as being murderer, mass murderer.
Yes,
So,
yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I lived in Yugoslavia until I was 12 years old, and we left Yugoslavia in 1950. All the streets and municipalities were named after Stalin. The names changed. Suddenly, Stalin became a persona non grata.
yeah, it's because of his fight with Josip Broz Tito, and but that's a sideline. I mean, which was never resolved one way or another, except that Yugoslavia was very different. It has much more independent policies than Soviet Union. But what I'm saying is that everyone was in a way different. Nobody really followed Stalin. Now, it's to tell who is going to follow Putin and what's the result, I don't think this is fundamentally important, except that whoever will be there, the war will be over the moment Putin will be out of power. That's for sure. But he's in reasonably good health. He's 73, so he can still go for.
Is Ukraine using drones to bomb inside of Moscow? No, it is.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Not you see, their goal is the infrastructure, such as naft,
Bridges and railroads, yeah.
the refineries,
Yeah.
the obviously the military infrastructure, and they are doing exceptional job. Their drones are now flying for 2,000 kilometers one way, and most of them are coming back, and they're sending them again. And what Ukrainians do is, and it's without help from the West or from the United States, and they're very genuine in doing that. Now Ukraine is asking, since okay, you're talking about peace. Who is going to guarantee this peace? Oh, nobody. Then we need to agree to a peace. We need nuclear weapons. That's the only thing what can guarantee anything, nothing else. Thank you. Bye bye.
Mutually assured destruction.
No, between Russia and Ukraine, it may not be. It will be some kind of a tactical exchange, just killing more people and contaminating the earth. This kind of wonderful things.
Well, this is also the fear if Iran comes up with the nuclear weapons. What would that do to destabilize the Middle East? What we really need, we got a global economy, but we have failed to establish a global community. And we need to get over these historic hatreds of other peoples and realize that, what makes one person happy is usually the same kinds of things that make another person happy, and that we all can share and live better off. Like I've always been a free trade advocate, and Republicans have always been advocates for free trade, and now we see an administration that is against free trade and imposing tariffs.
Well said, Jim. Well said. There's enough food on this planet to feed everybody, but there are hungry people in this world because of corruption. And so, that Venezuela and Norway have the same amount of oil. Every Norwegian citizen, man, woman, and child, is a millionaire. You can't say that about Venezuelans, where a few people are billionaires and most are hungry. And it all has to do with corruption.
Corruption is exactly right. And people think of it as the economic system, and it's nonsense to think it's the economic system. It's the people that can filter off the money, whether or not they do it. And the people at the top in Venezuela have been corrupt for a long, long time. And South America has had tremendous resources, and there's no reason it couldn't have been a far greater player on the world stage. But unfortunately, there have been
what do they say about, what do they say about Brazil? Brazil is the land of the future and always will be.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see on Saturday what's happened with the Trump's ultimatum that all hostages must be released by noon Saturday, all of them. Okay, and if not, there will be a fury and something that the world never seen before.
Right.
Netanyahu is on his side. Of course, he's now preparing to new attack on Saturday once the ultimatum will be.
Do you think there will be a Trump hotel in Palestinian land in the near future?
It's quite an interesting situation. So he's talking about that somebody will move all the 2 million Palestinians somewhere. U.S. is not going to get on the ground. U.S. is not going to finance anything. And yet there will be some kind of Riviera of the Mediterranean in Gaza and so on. And he's not naming who is going to do it, how much it will cost, and who is going to move people, he promised some kind of wonderful new cities like Jordan or Egypt or both. So
maybe Jared Kushner will be in charge of it, the resettlement.
Actually, there was even something said about each Palestinian family will get $200,000 to resettle. That may actually convince Palestinians to move somewhere, but so far I don't see any country who is going to take them. So this kind of. But Saturday will tell us what's all behind it.
Just briefly, back to the benefits of war. Our viewers should read The Arms of Krupp, K-R-U-P-P, The Arms of Krupp by Manchester. This is a family that's been in business for some 500 years and benefited enormously by manufacturing weapons for both sides. As long as you can write them a check, both sides will get weapons manufactured by the Krupp organization. Yeah, they've done very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We live in a very interesting time, and it covers anything from politics to investments. And see, we are talking about a lot, not only investments, but politics, because that obviously influenced.
Absolutely. The geopolitical outcomes are going to influence whether or not it's safe to invest in this area or that area. And so and inflation, for example, has gone up in January, and that's going to lead to a delay in future cuts, if there are any future cuts. And I've been saying for a long time the Fed has been very slow in cutting rates, and this leads to all sorts of problems, and people that want to start a new company in order to compete. The prices of X is too high. Well, I can start a company and produce it at half that price, but I need a loan to get started. But right now the rates are so high, it's prohibitive to get started. So we don't have these startups that, unless they're taken over and funded by someone like Musk. Again, we have concentration of wealth.
Every month, Canada is lowering its interest rates every month. For how many? 4 or 5 months in a row?
Yeah.
They are taking them down and lower and lower. So, of course, the Canadian dollar is not doing so well against American. But unless you're traveling to the United States, you don't care. And your products are more competitive because they're being priced in Canadian dollars. And so they're very desirable.
We encourage our members, Monday Morning Millionaire, we have about 300 members. We encourage them to have all their assets in American dollars and never to buy bonds. Sasha was talking about inflation a minute ago. James was talking about inflation a minute ago. And so inflation is up a bit. And so the bond market is larger than the stock market. Yet for every $1,000 that they borrow from you, you will get your $1,000 back. It will buy less almost all the time. So that's why we discourage people from getting into bonds, yet the bond market is larger than the stock market. So I don't understand.
Absolutely agree. Okay, gentlemen, we can talk for another hour and a half. However, we have to stop for today.
Okay.
Have a great week, and thank you for today's program. And we'll see you next week, next Wednesday, same place, same time.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Wonderful to talk to you. Bye, Milan.
Bye-bye.